Good morning. Good morning. Hope everyone is doing well. Welcome to Market Open live stream. Finishing getting everything set up here. I hope everyone is having a good day. Looks like we got CNBC now for the live stream, so that is awesome. 8 a.m. New York. Ethan, good to see you. Canada seems to be quite progressive in their stance on the future. So what are we waiting for? Roger, good to see you. Linda, Nellie Nelson, David Baker. DRM, good to see you.
$11 hours plus for both teams. They really didn't have the same impact, and they think it's really the time zone. So that's a big factor for the guys. And we play once a week, so that helps, right? We can adjust when they get back to their home cities tomorrow. They'll be on a similar time zone, and they'll also have 8 days before their next game. So this is all a part of the learning about how many games can we play. The ownership has been great. They have really endorsed already playing 8 regular season games. We hope to be close to that next year. And I see a commitment to go further than that if we get to a season of 18-2. I think that's something that the ownership will very much endorse.
You all have been slower to adopt some of the things that other leagues, maybe smaller leagues, rushed into a little more quickly. And part of that has to be streaming. You have always been very concerned to make sure that everybody can see the programs wherever they are. But it seems like it's working out pretty well with streaming with Peacock and other places. What have you learned through that process, and what can we expect in the next few years?
Well, Becky,
football's back. That's nice. I was kind of shocked. I was getting my hair cut last night and then saw football loading up on the TV, and I was like, oh, well, that's exciting to finally see that back. Let's take a look at the XRP price chart. Overall, I don't think anything overly exciting, but we'll start out the conversation with that. And I will say, guys, if you're getting here early, just make sure to drop that like on the stream. Super, super, super simple thing you can do to make sure more people see the stream and are kind of tuned in for what comes next. So really appreciate everyone for doing that. Super, super helpful in getting the word out there. Ethan, I did see that. I figured we were going to have to cover that on this show. That's Cointelegraph who put that out. Ethan, you're on YouTube, so I should be able to pull it. Hold on. Let me find that real quick. We'll continue on to the chart until I get that, but that is a bit of a disappointment to see Chris Larson supporting Kamala Harris. Was that Cointelegraph? What was that again? Cointelegraph. All right. Cointelegraph. Okay. Yep. Let me pull that up right now. So the thing about Chris Larson supporting Kamala is like that does seem to be the story, which is disappointing to say the least. But I'm yet to see any actual comment from him. So if we take a look at, and we'll just do the XRP price chart in a minute. If we take a look at this, we can see that Chris Larson, founder and executive chairman, has officially thrown his weight behind Kamala Harris. But I'm yet to see any description or any actual statement from him saying it. So I'll have to see what he says here to break down the nuance of it. Obviously, this is something that I am pretty shocked to see. It seems pretty obvious to me that anyone supporting Kamala when it comes to crypto is kind of sending the industry backwards. If you have your own political reason for supporting any candidate, obviously there's a very diverse range of issues and some people fall into different things. But when it comes to crypto, it seems pretty obvious that the current administration has been very anti-crypto. The upcoming administration should be very pro-crypto. He signed a letter. I'm not seeing anything here. Stephen, if you have anything on the letter part, let me know. Yeah, I mean, we saw a similar thing with Uphold too. Could be tactical. I mean, at the end of the day, I feel like a lot of these tech companies are just from San Fran and they're very liberal. So, okay, Roger said he signed a letter. Yeah, no, that's the thing. Like Chris Larson, yeah, I mean, really nothing more to say about it other than he has his own kind of reasons for doing it. I would love to hear an explanation, but does he still work at Ripple? He technically is a chairman at Ripple. He's not an employee anymore, so kind of in the middle there. Could it just be a strategy? I don't think so. I mean, we have to understand that there's a lot of people in the cryptocurrency industry supporting Kamala, and why that's the case, I have no idea, but for one reason or another, that's the decision they've chose to make. It's important to realize too, like, even though I think it's obvious going forward that the Republican administration is better for crypto, I mean, the previous one wasn't good for crypto either. Like Jay Clayton did sue Ripple. That is the reason we're in the Ripple SEC case. So I think that's an argument you'll hear. I know Mark Cuban's very pro crypto. He's kind of putting his weight behind Kamala Harris, Anthony Scaramucci. There's certainly a list of people who are doing it, but I would argue it's just really because I would guarantee you Chris Larson's been a lifelong Democrat and just kind of sticking to that thought process and being optimistic kind of on a pivot from Kamala on crypto. I don't see it happening, but at the end of the day, it's his choice and we'll have to see how that plays out necessarily. Not my favorite story to see though, to be honest. Let's jump into the XRP price chart real quick. I'm sure a lot of people are going to have comments on that. It's better if it's not a partisan issue. So even though I think Republicans are going to be better for crypto, I mean, it's better if it's not a partisan issue. So you're right about that. But it kind of has been a partisan issue to a certain degree. So like that's kind of the funny thing about it, right? Like we can keep saying it shouldn't be a partisan issue, but so far it has pretty much developed into one. I mean, the holy grail is if the Democrats just turn not anti-crypto anymore. Like that's the holy grail, and then it's a win-win for crypto. Now, I'm sure a lot of you are voting certain ways based on other reasons, but for me in covering the news, it's like I just want to see a win-win. So if we can get to a win-win, I think that's good. But right now, there really hasn't been any change in the administration. We've seen just as many lawsuits as before, so doesn't seem like there's much of a change. Guys, if you're over on YouTube, make sure to drop that like. Trying to break 100 likes on the stream. Exit out of the live chat, drop that like. And if you're over on X, a retweet goes a very, very long way. Also, guys, let me know, Deefin, I think you were on the economic data yesterday. Any economic data dropping, just let me know the time. I think it's 8:30. So I got an eye on that, but we'll keep looking out for that. So right now, XRP is pushing on the bottom of this range here. I would expect to find support. I think we are going to find support here. Ideally, it's not the best place to be, right? I prefer to be up here pushing on the top. When you're up here pushing on the top, then typically there's a lot of room to make that move to the upward. Now we're kind of putting in a place where you can make a move to the downward, but we've been here before, right? This isn't new. We've been trending on this bottom line for what? Since May of 22. So it hasn't broken yet. I don't think now would be the time it would break. I have almost no worries about that. BTC dumped this morning. Interesting. Let's take a look at the BTC to XRP price chart, because XRP relatively is holding up pretty well here. Obviously still waiting for something to cause some level of breakout. And guys, the views are going up massively right now. So really appreciate everyone taking the time to go down there and drop that like. I know it's inconvenient, but it does help things a lot on the back end. And the more people we can bring in here, the better. Let's take a look at XRP to BTC. It's actually not really up that much. So looks like XRP is kind of performing in line with the market right now. As we can see, we're kind of just trading in this general range here. Once again, waiting for some kind of breakout for XRP against Bitcoin. If we zoom out here, we can see that obviously we're in a very historical point. We're kind of making that turnaround, and we're really just waiting for some kind of outperformance or major outperformance for XRP. I think it's interesting that that does kind of line up with the XRP price chart. So if we bring back up the XRP price chart, take a look at it like this, and then we're really waiting on the volatility to come at the same point, which I think is a good indicator that we're probably pretty close to something breaking on these charts. But what that catalyst is going to be, that is the bigger question. I will say, I think I'm more optimistic now on the SEC not appealing the case to a certain degree. The fact that they hadn't made up their mind yet was definitely a good sign. So maybe that's going to be that thing to take us up. The SEC not appealing the case, October 7th, getting closer and closer to that date, which is obviously something that is going to be a very big deal if that doesn't happen, because then it's over. Like that, like take a look at this. This is crazy. The case has been going on. I mean, for our, let's see, this is like the case drop. 1,400 days. 1,400 days, and we got 30 days left to see if it's over. So fingers crossed. Let's take a look at the chat real quick. BTC, yeah, I saw that. Trump moved Ripple, Capitol building in Washington, D.C. Biden booted him out. RVM, that's funny. BTC, let's take a look at BTC in a second. Crypto Clay, good to see you. Stupid automobile autocorrect, that's funny. Roger, I think PPI and CPI don't come back next week extremely high. Yeah, I don't think CPI is going to come in high either. Stephen, do you have the dates for that? Do you know what dates we get that data? If anyone knows the CPI dates, let me know. I want to mark those down just so we're ready for those numbers to drop. Let's take a look at this real quick. Hold on.
And they're pretty much near their highs. Now, they're defensive stocks, so maybe they're benefiting from that, but it also reflects the fact that overall employment levels are, of course, at a record. So even though growth has decelerated in the labor market, you actually do have something close to a fullish employment picture. So at least we're starting from a decent point, Andrew.
Mike, you know, I think one of the big questions right now is, do we think the markets are really priced for a soft economic landing or something worse?
I think right now you can't say that we're priced for anything like a recession. We're only a few percent off the highs. Cyclical stocks are still hanging in there okay. But I do think you've priced in a greater probability in terms of how the bond market is traded, in terms of defensive leadership, of that harder landing. I think that the imminence of a likely Fed rate cut, the first one in the cycle, kind of concentrates everyone's attention on this debate as to whether, in fact, we're going to be able to escape with a soft landing and how much the Fed is either late or right on time. So I think this week has shown that a higher possibility of something bumpier than a soft landing is in the price. We'll see the reaction. I think we are definitely set up for the potential for some relief in markets if it's anything like a steady job growth number in a few minutes.
Okay, Mike, thank you for that. We'll be seeing you in just a little bit. And
let's go. We got the job numbers coming in right now. That should be interesting. Guys, make sure to smash the like button I know I keep saying it, but every single time I say it, so many new people get into the stream. So thank you for doing that.
Also looking for an unemployment rate of 4.2%. Then we'll talk about what that data could mean for the Fed and the path of potential interest rate cuts with former Atlanta Fed President Dennis Lockhart. Don't go anywhere. Squawk Box will be right back.
Cool. So we're going to get that data in a minute. So that should be interesting to break down. Glad we're getting that this morning. I do have an interesting post here I want to break down in a minute. It's about Ripple's kind of business strategy. So I'll pull that up in the back on the back end, and then as soon as we're ready to go after those job numbers come in, we'll take a look at that. Still need to figure out a better way to be able to pull up tweets with this new setup. So it's a little broken at the moment. We're getting there. We're getting there. Better than the first couple times when I went live and went to go pull up a video and no audio showed up. So at least that's taken care of. There's a lot of liquidity around. Oh, I forgot. That's what we wanted to do, right? DFIN. We wanted to pull up that Bitcoin price chart. So we'll do that right now. What do I need to do? Okay. I need to do anything. I just need to come over here. One more quick look at XRP, see if anything's happening on this market open. No, just hanging out in the middle. Like we said, this was always kind of anticipated up until finding out what the ultimate decision would be. The Ripple SEC case. That's what I should start doing. I should start opening new tabs rather than switching. That way I can get back to it when we ultimately want to talk about the XRP price chart again. All right, let's take a look at BTC. BTC is really kind of the thing we're kind of counting on right now at the moment. I hate to be relying on BTC, but if BTC is not performing, we're going to be in some level of trouble. All right, come on, computer. Oh, wow. Bitcoin went all the way down to 55. Jeez. To be completely honest, I had no idea Bitcoin was at 55 this morning. Wow. Okay. I'm surprised XRP is not up against Bitcoin on that XRP to Bitcoin chart. That's fascinating. I thought if you told me Bitcoin was at 55, we would have had a big pump on the XRP price chart. So that's interesting. Mikkel, will we miss the bull run again? No, I don't think we're going to miss the bull run again. I'll show you why in a second, but just this is crazy. I didn't realize Bitcoin was so low. All right, we got a bottom on Bitcoin now, which is not ideal, but I don't know. Just like XRP, Bitcoin's really been in this tight trading range for a while. I can't say I'm necessarily that worried about it. It seems to me like all the fundamentals are saying we'll be moving higher. So while it's no fun to be in these trading ranges, I can't say they're necessarily that scary. It seems like we keep finding support when we need to. So that's good news. Did we miss the bull run? That's a great question. Let me pull up this. I do want to make sure we get that economic data. So that's in 5 minutes. Okay, cool. 5 minutes for that. This could be a catalyst if it hits. We overall want to see good economic. We want to see a good jobs report, low unemployment. That would be very, very good. So as soon as that comes in, we'll switch over. I want to try to take a look at XRP against Bitcoin for you guys to talk about why I don't think XRP has missed the bull market. I know this is something that people worry about, so get it covered for you guys. All right. So if we take a look at XRP against Bitcoin and we just take a look at, instead of now, we take a look at the COVID situation. This is one of the bull markets that everyone was saying like, oh, XRP missed the bull market. But what I want to show you guys is like, if we actually take a look at COVID, we can see that to a certain degree, XRP actually outperformed Bitcoin. So even though XRP didn't surpass its previous all-time high, we still did outperform Bitcoin to a certain degree. So look, I don't think if this was in the middle of the case, I don't think XRP is going to be missing a bull market. The fact that we were able to do this in the middle of the Ripple SEC case back when people had no idea back when people had no idea if XRP was even going to be a security or not, right? The fact that we could break all-time highs, or not break all-time highs, but outperform Bitcoin, I mean, to me, shows that there's a relatively very low chance that we would be missing a bull market. I mean, the fundamentals for XRP are significantly stronger than what they were back in 2021, and we were still able to put in this big move. So not really worried about it. And what you can see is, I mean, XRP underperformed for a very long time, right? So like up until here, XRP was just consistently underperforming up until it just made that big move. So I don't think it's anything I'm particularly worried about. What XRP does, it tends to move at these slower paces, drag behind, and then when no one expects it, make that big move. So you can see right here as well, there was a time for a while where Bitcoin was pushing to these new highs, and it felt like XRP was falling behind, only for XRP to catch up fairly quickly. Non-payroll number is expected to be 160K and unemployment at 4.2. Okay, thank you, Rod. Yeah, this is going to be the big thing today. We need to see good employment numbers. Good employment numbers are going to be absolutely critical. So that is what we're waiting to see at the moment. If we get bad employment numbers, we're probably going to not see a very good reaction from the chart. So we'll get futures going too. We'll get futures open. Actually, I'm sure CNBC is going to cover it anyway. All right, here we go.
Welcome back. Squawk Box on CNBC. We're approaching the government's August employment report. Ahead of the number, let's bring in our jobs panel. Betsy Stevenson, professor of she's a professor of economics and public policy. Before we get to the jobs panel, Steve, November. So we do have. I don't think we corrected ourselves. So there's.
No, it's November 1.
I thought we didn't do it.
I thought we didn't do it either.
November 1 is a Friday.
I discounted it. I should have looked it up. I had a friend.
November. Okay, what we're saying is November 1st is a Friday.
Yeah.
And normally you wait a couple of days before the October report. Yeah, so they got to cook the books, right? So it normally takes a couple of days. But we'll have 3 numbers before the election. Then three jobs reports before the election,
including the one in 2.5 years.
Yeah, the one that we get into. But I mean, that's noteworthy, I think, because it's.
And an inflation report, and you'll have a Fed meeting in September, and retail sales, and I think there's even a GDP report, right? I don't want to misspeak again, but right. There's a GDP report coming up before the election.
But for those that think maybe that there's an article in the Journal about the October surprise. I mean, you never know but it's a long time. You don't think anything bad happens.
So there's some data, Joe, that shows it.
Yeah, I love that. They're just like cooking the books at this point. So this is the government data. So this is the data that's been manipulated.
Current state, but they're a little bit more optimistic about the future state. Some of that comes from Republicans becoming more optimistic. Some of that comes from Democrats and independents becoming more optimistic. It's been a little better. The wage numbers, Joe, have been running about 14, 15 months now. We've had real wage gains. Over the course since the pandemic, we're still negative.
Well, wait a second. Betsy Stevenson herself explained why it's not always the first of the month. It's on the first Friday. It's a rule of thumb. It always happens after the reference week. So it's scheduled for the 3rd Friday after the conclusion of the survey reference week.
Okay.
That's why we love Betsy Stevenson, because she knows those things. Because
Professor of economics policy, she is, in public economics and public policy at the University of Michigan. Allison Schrager, senior fellow at the Manhattan Institute. Sarah Malik, chief investment officer and head of equities and fixed income at Nuveen, and our own Steve Leisman. It's almost time, and where's Santelli? He's. A
lot of the news is trying to clear their name. I even see CNN kind of cracking down on Kamala. They were ripping her on the border wall recently, so it's interesting. They're trying to save face.
Don't choke.
About 13 seconds.
It's time now. Read slowly for the August jobs report. And Steve Leisman, what number are you going to start?
Breathe in, breathe out.
What number are you going to start with, Steve?
I don't have the number just yet, but we're looking for 161,000. It should be coming across any second now. Let me check the BL. There it is. 142,000 versus July, which revised down to from 289,000 from 114,000. June, big revision to 118 from 179. I cannot do the math. Somebody do 11 and 14 for me. That's 25,000 for the July revision, and it looks like 61,000. So what's 25 and 61 is 87 or 86. Is that right? So big revision down for the prior 2 months. I'm looking at the unemployment rate. It did tick down to 4.2% from 4.3, right in line with consensus. Let's see if I have any other headlines here that I can scare up. That's all I have right now. I'd have to go to the BLS report here, refresh my page. Rick has it scrolling across the top. I do not. I'm going to go quickly to the B1 table, and I'm going to tell you where the jobs were and where they weren't. Looking here, quickly, 142 over all private sector, 118. So we're talking about some 20,000 or so, 24,000 jobs were from the government sector. It looks like there was positive gains in negative on manufacturing, minus 24,000. Scrolling down, I'm going to try to find the two areas that have been really private service providing 108,000. Retail trade minus 11. A lot of negatives I'm coming across here.
The yields are going down a little, Steve.
Transport, yeah, this is a relatively weak number. It is an improvement, but you put those together with the revisions, which shaved off. What did I come up with? Almost 86,000 jobs.
Yeah, and it was bad
revisions.
to start with, wasn't it?
It was, well, no, some of them were high. Like one of them came way down. It was a 179, came down to like 118 or something like that. I want to just check leisure and hospitality, which has been a place, obviously, we've had a lot of gains, and private education, health services, a big part of it, 47,000. Healthcare within that, up 44,000.
No hot inflation numbers anywhere, are there?
No,
average
I didn't check
average hourly, I'll tell you.
What do you got, Beck?
Up 0.4% versus the up 0.3%.
That's pretty strong.
And average hourly year over year, up 3.83% versus the up 3.7% that had been expected. So maybe a little stronger.
Yeah, so there's 46,000 on leisure and hospitality, and government, again, like I said, 24,000, of which almost all of it was in local government, 22,000 of which that was ex-education. So I'm seeing I don't know what the diffusion number is. I'm guessing it's down near 50 or 60% in terms of where the jobs. I'm seeing a bunch of negatives, a bunch of positives. Look, in a normal world, this would be a good number because we've gotten so used to these big numbers near 200. Clearly, the job market's softened. Clearly, it's weakened. We have to take this number with a grain of salt because of the revisions I told you about in the 7 o'clock hour. That happens a lot. Plus the idea that you have these downward revisions. You have the ADP number led you, as I said before, people discounted. I think they're wrong. It led you in the right direction. And I'm just going to very quickly check what's happened to the Fed funds probabilities here because we were on the cusp of a 50 for September.
Not enough for anything.
It's going to refresh.
It's gonna move.
Yes,
Yeah.
now we're just barely 51.49 on a 50 now.
Okay.
We flipped from 57. Now, what happens, Joe, this is very interesting. This has been happening the whole time, is now the probability of a 50 in November becomes a probability of a 25.
Just because it's going to add up to 100.
The market is darn set on 100 between now and the end of December, and it just shifts around how it gets there, but it's really at 100, maybe a little bit more now. Now you've got a 68% probability of a 50 in December. So look, 100, 100 and a quarter, I guess, is now where we're talking about. So a little bit more easing. And I can do one other thing here, which is check what we're looking for a year from now and looking for 6 months from now. So if I look at the September 2025 Fed contract, I get a error rate. No, yeah, there it is. Okay. So 3%, right in 3% 1 year from now. So the market now is priced at 240 to come off the Fed funds rate as a result of this number.
Right.
Numbers seen as weak. It's going to raise questions about where the economy is. But once again, for a normal economy, 142,000. I have not had a chance to look at the household survey to see what happened to the unemployed. I'll do that while you're talking to our brilliant guests.
Get to our panel. Jobs panel, Betsy, Alan.
All right, so there's the numbers. Overall, kind of in line with expectations. To be honest, I think overall the numbers are actually pretty good for getting to where we want to go. The labor market's weakening. That's going to be a reason to cut rates, and then you do see the dollar reacting. So the dollar is selling off pretty hard here, ultimately, because as Steve was saying there, the market is predicting rates are going to be at 3%. So if rates get, oh man, I hate when that happens. If rates get to 3%, to get to those 3% rates, I think we're going to see a sell down in the dollar. So yeah. Yeah, that's the thing. Like the numbers are cooked. The numbers are cooked, but I try to tell people this. It's like the numbers are cooked and the numbers are fake, but like it's like everyone plays the same game. So it's like trying to play a game of Monopoly and saying, "Oh, this is BS. Like the money's fake in this game." It's like, of course the money's fake in the game. There's made up rules, there's made up things in the game, but if you want to win the game, you have to play the game. So it's the same exact thing for investing. Like you have to accept the fact that the game is rigged. They make the rules, but everyone plays by those made up BS rules. So that's how I look at it. Everyone probably has different opinions, but look, you can believe the inflation rate is whatever you want it to believe it is. And I believe it's probably much higher than it is, but the Federal Reserve is adjusting policy based off the inflation rate they look at, and that inflation rate and their policy is what moves the entire market. So to a certain degree, you just kind of have to play whatever game the Federal Reserve's playing. And one day I hope that's different, but I don't think it's going to be different anytime soon. Oh, I'm playing. I got you, Crypto Clay. I do like to make it clear though, because a lot of people don't understand that, like, that's just the game, you know.
You corrected me, and we can actually note like that is a bigger sign of what's been going on in this economy, is that it is women who've been driving it forward. I still stand by what my general sense is that we're seeing weakening in this.
Oh God, that's tough to listen to. Yeesh. Gold at all-time high. Interesting. I haven't looked at gold in a minute. Turned off my TV when Fox News would not call the election for Trump. Yeah, I was like, oh, maybe she's saying something interesting. Boy, was I wrong. All right, let's take a look if we're getting any thoughts on the economic data on the professional side. So let's see if any of the heavyweights are weighing in on this right now. Okay, so August payrolls 142 versus 155. July revised down to 189 from 144. Unemployment 4.2 versus 4.2. All right, so most people think the Fed is still going to cut 50 basis points in September, which is what we were waiting for. Let's see again. Yeah, so the thought process here is one, unemployment is at 4.2%, which I'm sure I can get unemployment numbers on here actually. Let's see if we can pull up on a chart of unemployment. Yep, so here you go. Doesn't get more clear than this, guys. Man. Not really the chart you want to see, but it's the chart we have. So if we take a look at this, this is unemployment. Probably get it off the logarithmic scale. Yeah, that cleans things up a little bit. Yeah, this is why the Federal Reserve is cutting. There's no other way to say it. They're trying to avoid what's happening here. So that's the game we're playing here. That's the game we're playing. Can we cut rates fast enough where this is going to go like this? This is going to go. Yep, and I knew that was going to break. Can the Federal Reserve cut rates enough where right when this starts going up, they can knock it back down? Or are they going to create some kind of crazy event like we saw in COVID, or 2010? That's the real question here, and that's the game we're playing. So that's why the Federal Reserve needs to cut rates, because let's take a look at this. They got unemployment all the way down here right after COVID. It was at this floor. And because unemployment was at this floor, inflation started running. Everyone had all this money. They were spending money like crazy. Things were getting jacked up. So what they had to do is they had to get employment up, and therefore people wouldn't have any money, and therefore people couldn't spend money, and inflation would come down. But here's the thing: inflation is pretty much gone now. So now it's really coming down to the fact that, like, hey, if inflation is gone, and why would you keep rates high? Because what's the point in keeping rates high other than killing the economy? So that's the point we're in right now. I'll pull up an inflation chart real quick just so people can see it. So here's the inflation chart. So as you can see, inflation is well within the band. So they started jacking up rates here, right? Because that's when inflation was running rampant. They knocked it all the way down. It's time for them to now clean up the tool they use to jack rates up, which is rates. And that's going to hopefully keep unemployment from ripping up. Toby, inflation is horrible. This is what we were talking about earlier, Toby. Like, I can agree with you that inflation is likely much higher than what these charts are saying, but that's not how economic policy is crafted. So you're more than welcome to have your opinion on whether or not the numbers for inflation are real or not. But at the end of the day, the Federal Reserve controls the market, and the Federal Reserve is going to be making decisions based off these numbers. So it all depends what game you want to play, right? If you want to play your own game, that's perfectly fine. And a lot of people do that. But what you're not going to get is be able to really accurately predict what the Federal Reserve is going to do. So look, the Federal Reserve controls all the markets. And if they think something should be happening on the inflation side, they're going to do it. And therefore, it's better to watch the data they're looking at than the data I want to look at. But I agree with you, right? Like, I don't think these numbers are necessarily accurate. Don't hate the play, I hate the game. Exactly, Roger. Exactly. Yeah, I use this example all the time. It's like you're playing a game of Monopoly and then arguing that the rules are unrealistic. It's like they might be unrealistic and there might be a lot of dumb things about the game, but you're not going to win the game complaining about them. So in order to win the game, you need to figure out the rules of the game and then maximize them to your advantage. And I think it's obvious that the Federal Reserve is using this data, whether it's insane that they're using the data, whether it makes any sense, whether it's wrong, whether it's cheating, whether it's manipulation. All of that can be true, but unfortunately, that's the game. That is the game. Cool. It all begins in London. I would love for something to begin. Oh, that's an interesting question. They're talking about the VIX here. Let's see what they're saying.
Rates increases their delinquency rates. That hits the employment markets where we're already starting to see some signs of companies slowing down in terms of hiring. They've paused hiring already. I think the next step will be when we start to see more layoffs. And that then will bring you your run-of-the-mill, more of a normal type of recession.
I was going to follow up with Betsy. But
go ahead. You go ahead and follow up with Betsy, and then we'll be at 8:45. Who knows? Anything can happen.
Anything can happen. Betsy, we have a few minutes here. Just give us your outlook on when you say this is weak. How do you go from that to your view on the broader economy?
There's a fine line between weak and normalizing. And what I see here is the labor market is definitely weakening, and we're going to see people who are outside the labor market having a hard time finding jobs. That's going to cause some pain. That's going to cause some contraction in consumer spending. And the question will be, can we sort of manage through that with...
Oh, man. Get off my screen. How is she still on there? Guys, don't forget to hit the like button. Thank you, Brian, for calling that out. I really appreciate you doing that. it helps out the channel so much. We got 231 people on YouTube and 700 on X. If you're over on X, a retweet goes a really long way, really helps me out, gets more people to see the stream. I can't tell you guys how many people probably follow you and don't know yet about the live stream. So any effort in kind of spreading the word is massively appreciated. And if you're over on YouTube also, make sure to drop that like. Yep, and there's the number that now goes ripping. Also, guys, we will get back into member-only live streams as well. Kind of as we readjust the hour, the numbers got thrown off right now. There's not as many people in here. And because of that, I just want to make sure that we keep the dialogue going in the chat. But very quickly, we'll pick back up on the numbers. Things will start filling up. Oh, looks like we got news. All right, let's see what this is.
Speaking at the, I believe, at the Council of Foreign Relations this morning, and he will say, or is saying, that it's now appropriate to dial down restrictiveness. He says that is the monetary policy. The stance of monetary policy can move to a more neutral setting. No information there about the speed of this. And he talks about 3 specific risks that he's looking at. First, significant further weakening in the U.S. labor market tops his list, a sharp slowdown in global growth that washes up on these shores, and of course, the volatile up and down process of disinflation. He has himself increased confidence that inflation is moving towards their 2% target. He says the labor market is now roughly in balance and an unlikely source of inflation. The two sides of the dual mandate are moving into better balance. Keeps using that phrase. These are another phrase, actually, equipoise he uses. Williams sees GDP growth of 2.5 in 24, unemployment around 4.25, where it is kind of now, and PCE inflation around 2.5%, Joe.
Very good. Steve Leisman, thanks to our jobs panel, Betsy, Allison, Sarah, and
Joe, one more thing.
Thanks,
We're
Jeff.
now pretty solidly positive on the 210.
On the 210.
Yeah, we're 3 points positive. I don't know if they have that in the back, but we're cranking up. We have not been here in quite some time on the 210 spread.
And if we haven't had a recession after the inversion, is this when the recession comes? When it
the people who say that, I forget, it was Gabriel Santos on our air who said this is the most dangerous time.
Because that's when it reinverts.
When it reinverts, that's when it reinverts or something like that.
History
Uninverts.
But didn't we learn here that we really need Rick to do this?
It's like this year.
Learn that today.
This year, regardless.
I did my best, folks.
This year, regardless is a good word.
Exact opposite.
Exact opposite. Single best idea. I don't know. Fresh new highs. We got some fresh earnings reports. See, we're not going to bring you those old ones we gave you last month. We're going to bring you some fresh earnings reports. Great, thanks.
Oh, the Brad Garlinghouse Bloomberg interview. Okay, I haven't seen that. Let me pull that up and we can jump into that. That's a good call. So let me see if I can. Brad Garlinghouse Bloomberg. If anyone has a link, if anyone has a link for the Bloomberg interview, let me know. I'm just gonna try to find it here, but I haven't seen this interview circulating around. I saw like I saw like an excerpt of it on X, didn't have time to watch it and never got to see the full thing. So let's see. Almost gotta have posted it, right? Brad's interview. I want to find this. XRP pumping. Yeah, XRP is reversing course a little bit here, going more positive. Seems like the rate cut news is seeming beneficial to XRP. We'll throw this up as I try to find this interview. I'd like to see this interview of Brad. Didn't get to watch it yet, so it'd be cool to watch that live with you guys. Less of XRP pumping, I think, and more of coming out of the red, but obviously that's positive. Yeah, it is moving up pretty quickly here. All right, let's see if something happens here. Would love to see a nice recovery. It was funny. We talked just this morning about how we were likely going to bounce out of here, and we literally pulled this entire candle up. and I'm not showing you guys anything. But there we go. Yeah, so XRP is turning this green candle green. Let me try to find Brad. Yeah, not too many people are happy about Chris Larson debating Kamala. I mean, endorsing Kamala. I understand it, but you know, what are you gonna do? He's his own man. I don't think it's smart, but yeah, he's more connected than me, so maybe he does have some reason for it. He is from San Fran, Kamala's district. Maybe he knows her. If he does, that would be nice. I'm down for a little backdoor deal for Ripple. Seems like we need one of those. Brad Garlinghouse. Oh, here we go. Let me just get rid of any ads for you guys. Yeah, no, it doesn't. If we go to a smaller time frame, it is definitely a nice movement on XRP here. Yeah, we go to a smaller time frame. You can see that candle coming in. See if we can keep going. Let's take a look at this real quick.
So, you know, if you were on the court, what would you do?
I'd probably go with 25 because I think this report is consistent with their basic working narrative that the labor markets, the employment markets are slowing, but not falling off a cliff. So I would favor 25. I think that will be the point of debate in the meeting. Really, there's no question that they're resolved to cut.
When you look at some of the revisions, 86,000 jobs off the table that we thought were on the table, how detrimental is that? How much does that go into the thinking?
Well, it certainly suggests to me that the first estimates that we get at the first Friday, in this case, first Friday of every month, are pretty substantially off what they settle on after revisions, and that suggests a weaker labor market than first impressions. So again, I think that will feed the debate in the committee about whether there is a strong enough rationale for going with 50 instead of 25.
Do you therefore think that even today's number is off?
I was a little bit surprised by the revisions, frankly, and I was watching Steve as he was making the report earlier, and he too, I think, was a little bit startled by some of the revisions. It suggests that maybe the underlying weakness is a little stronger than the committee believes, but they're also, I should point out, the Beige book this week, I think, gives you a sense of sort of ground level soundings that the presidents are getting, and they too suggested that we're slowing down in terms of.
Is there an argument though, Dennis, if you know that the Fed is going to have to not just cut rates in September, but likely cut rates in November and December? If
Paul Barron, good to see you. I'm not sure I understand the outrage. An endorsement can only mean one thing: a positive deal was made. Yeah, I'm also seeing a report right now. This is interesting. Ripple co-founder backlash, but former Ripple board member Gene Sperling has recently joined the Kamala Harris campaign, further solidifying Ripple's connection to her candidacy. You know, if Ripple can hedge their bets here, that's perfectly fine with me. I think the bigger issue here, Paul, is why with the outrages is more that when you have the possibility of Gary Gensler possibly going to the Treasury, I think that doesn't sit right with a lot of cryptocurrency investors. You continue to see the crackdown by the Democrats on the cryptocurrency industry, despite essentially saying they're going to reset a lot of their negotiations. So yeah, I mean, I understand the outrage for some people. At the same time, I do kind of agree if there is some kind of back deal in place, like there probably is, I think it's good. Ripple has hedged bets ultimately in approaching this. So we'll have to wait and see how it plays out. I do have to say, I am not surprised at all with the outrage. I will say that. I am not surprised at all with the outrage. Judging how I know the XRP community, I am not surprised that they are unhappy with Chris Larson supporting Kamala Harris. But as so long as there is some kind of backroom and backdoor in play here, and there is some kind of negotiation happening, which I assume there is, then that's not as worse. That's not the worst case scenario. So long as Ripple can get out of this case and their business can remain unimpacted in the United States, that's the holy grail for a win. And I do have some charts to go over later in this live stream, specifically about Ripple's expansion. There we go, backdoor. No, I'm a favor of backdoors when it involves Ripple and XRP. Obviously, I'm kidding here. I would love to see Ripple and XRP win on a level, fair playing ground, but it doesn't seem to be how the U.S. political system works. Let's jump into this Brad Garlinghouse interview. I know a lot of people wanted to see this, so here we go. Look, it's like me and Brad were mixed together. The Mickle. That's crazy. All right. Enough of that. Take a look at what Brad has to say.
Here with sort of good news, I guess, for people who have been following what you do. You could be launching your stablecoin a bit faster than most people thought.
Well, we've always been kind of consistent that we're going to do everything we can to launch this year. Everything Ripple does is in conjunction with regulatory approval, licensing. And so a key issue that we will continue to make sure we are partnered with U.S. regulators before we go live with the stablecoin. We'll first issue it, we expect, in the U.S., but we think there's opportunity for stablecoins globally. And certainly Japan, as you, I think, probably know, they approved some legislation a year ago that came into effect this year. And so there's a process underway now to do stablecoins here in Japan as well.
Yeah, I want to talk about that. But when we're talking about the U.S., we're talking about a matter of weeks for this launch.
Yeah, our expectation has been to move as quickly as we can. Some people, I think, thought that might be the very end of the year. We won't know for sure until regulators say, yes, we have the green light. But we're optimistic. We acquired a company called Standard Custody, which had a New York DFS trust license. And there's a process you go through to kind of transfer that and how it's going to be used. We've had a great partnership with the New York DFS, Department of Financial Services, through a BIT license we've had for many years. And we'll continue to partner with them and work through that with them before we go live.
Tell us a little about the use case. How does this really differentiate from your token itself? Because that's also been talked about, the payment system, right?
Right. We've always used XRP, the digital asset that's kind of native to our technology stack. We've used that as a bridge asset to transfer money across borders. What we have found is that stablecoins, particularly US dollar stablecoins, has gone from a pretty small market to today it's about $170 billion worldwide. And people think that may end up being 2 to 3 trillion in about 5 years. Given Ripple's place in the payments infrastructure, as well as a trusted brand partnering with financial institutions and regulators, we felt like there's an opportunity to enter the stablecoin market as that market continues to grow. We already have used stablecoins in our payment flows for certain corridors, depending upon whether you're going to the Australian dollar or Philippine peso. Certain corridors, it's more efficient to use a stablecoin at times. So we always use what's best for the customer, and we decided to go live and build our own stablecoin, and excited to get live with that this year.
Thinking of building a stablecoin here in Japan, I mean, you said that the regulations here were clearer, but at the same time, is more of a conservative market, no?
You know, I think Japan has been a more conservative market in some ways, but I actually think that in some ways is also really healthy. Japan, more so than some countries around the world, leaned in early to provide regulatory clarity and passed legislation, both about stablecoins, but even further back, I think 2017 or 2018, the FSA here in Japan issued clarity and a kind of a taxonomy, a framework for how different cryptos would be regulated. And that has really allowed, I think, entrepreneurship and investment to thrive here in Japan. Now, as compared to the United States, which has really been behind, certainly Japan and the UK and behind Switzerland, so a lot of countries are leading, and Japan has been in many ways one. That's not to say they haven't been conservative about the regulation, but I think that can be really healthy. As long as there's clear rules of the road, entrepreneurs will work within them.
So if you're imagining a stablecoin in Japan, what's the time frame?
Well, I think right now Ripple in particular is focused on let's get live with the US dollar
Okay.
stablecoin. But I think people will want to hold yen stablecoins, and I think that's only a matter of time. And I think the regulators here in Japan, again, about a year ago, passed some legislation around that. And there's some companies going through the licensing process right now to get live.
A lot of the companies that are involved in this space in Japan are larger corporations. Is that sort of a concern, not having the smaller, innovative guys take the lead?
Well, I think what you're seeing is some of the bigger guys partnering with the smaller innovative companies. Ripple, way back in 2016, partnered with SBI, one of the largest and most successful banking conglomerates here, and really across a lot of financial services here in Japan. And that's been a really successful partnership for us and for them. So we feel like it makes sense to when you enter some of these markets to partner with some of the bigger guys. And that's true in Korea, that's true in Japan. Depending on what market you go into, we try to figure out what's the best way to enter.
Especially here in Japan, we've talked about regulation being a bit more clear, but also the government has been very active in setting those regulations. At the same time, we're headed towards a presidential election for the ruling Liberal Democratic Party. Do you have any views on the potential that this market could change?
Well, actually, while I've been here in Japan, I've met with regulators, I've met with the FSA, I've met with elected representatives, and what I've heard consistently is a desire to lean into these technologies. I think the environment here from a macro point of view has been very pro-innovation, and this helps create job growth. It helps, even getting the economy kind of jump-started. And what has been a little bit deflationary, I think some of these assets can actually be used to address that and provide some balance and how pricing across different jurisdictions occurs.
You're even encouraged as an outsider because some of these markets in Asia can tend to be very insular.
Yeah, I think historically that's been my impression. I will tell you, I have felt incredibly warm welcomes across the board, with the FSA, with elected representatives. They want to see technologies like this embraced and adopted, whether it's crypto and blockchain or AI. That's a consistent message I heard in all of my meetings over the last day or two.
Does that really contrast to what you're feeling in the US, the warmth and embrace?
It's a sad reality. I chuckle about it, but it's frustrating. I grew up in the United States. A majority of Ripple's employees are based in the United States today, but our number of employees we hire outside the United States has grown dramatically.
I was going to say, how big is that?
So we have about 900 employees globally. 75% of our hiring has been non-US, in part because of exactly what you're talking about. The US has been pretty hostile towards crypto. The Biden administration, frankly, has taken a pretty negative view, and that has meant this kind of regulation through enforcement. The United States SEC has sued a lot of companies in the space. And rather than doing the hard work that the Japanese regulators have done of codifying and creating a framework, they've just sued people. That's not a really great way to regulate an industry.
Do you think that would change if we have the more overtly crypto-friendly Trump administration coming back in?
Well, I don't know who's going to win. I think regardless of who wins, you're going to see new leadership at the United States Securities and Exchange Commission. And that will be, I think, an important changing of the guard. Now, Trump and the Republicans clearly have leaned into being very pro-crypto. I view crypto and blockchain as a very bipartisan. You shouldn't care about a technology depending upon what party you're from. I think being pro-innovation and pro-job growth makes sense on both sides of the aisle. So it's almost like saying I'm a Republican, I'm anti-email, but I'm a Democrat, I'm pro-email. Like that doesn't make sense.
At least
how
for
you
the
use
time.
them.
At least for the time being, though, given that there is that lack of clarity, given that they're pro and anti-email.
Yeah.
No US IPO. At least for now.
No, we don't have any. That's not our horizon. We're frankly very lucky to have a very strong balance sheet. We've made acquisitions. We bought a custody company last year for $250 million US. We've done stock buybacks to our private shareholders. But going public in the United States when the SEC isn't a big fan of crypto and certainly Ripple even specifically, I don't think that's in the cards anytime soon.
So where is all of that money coming from? Like how much of that ratio comes from overseas, especially Asia?
I don't know the exact ratio. We think about our business as a very global business. 95% of our customers are non-US customers. Yeah. About 40% of our business is in the Asia Pacific region in terms of payment flows. Yeah. Again, our customers, Ripple, the company, our customers are banks, financial institutions, payment providers. We use the XRP ledger and we use the token XRP to kind of facilitate these transactions. Some people get confused about which is which, but Ripple, the company, our customers are all these banks and financial institutions.
What the biggest companies deliver is exceptional customer experience. What makes it possible is unmatched connection.
All right, so I thought the ending was kind of fun. Love hearing Brad just be straight with it and say our target customers are banks and financial institutions. It's kind of funny to go back and listen to some of the FUD about, oh, is Ripple working with banks still? Are they pivoting from banks? It's like, it's never been more clear that Ripple's not pivoting from banks. Also, it's nice to see it's interesting to see kind of Brad just come out and reconfirm that XRP is being used in transactions between financial intermediaries. Overall, all good news. I thought that was a great interview from Brad. Nothing I would say overly interesting, but I will say the fact that Ripple's hiring 95% outside the United States, or the fact that Ripple has 95% of their customers outside the United States, alongside the fact that they're a United States-based company, I think they're kind of doing the hard work now, right? Like, a lot of companies have a really hard time expanding globally, and then they just kind of only are prevalent in the United States. The fact that Ripple has already done such a good job of focusing on the rest of the world, I think is very interesting, because no one's making progress in the United States, right? It's like the United States is turned off. So while a lot of companies are just like, all right, well, we just can't do anything, or our business is just going to be stagnant, Ripple's like, all right, let's just grow everywhere else. So I think that's a big benefit to Ripple's strategy here. They kind of always have the ability to turn the United States on, and I think they'll be able to do that effectively. But in the meantime, it's nice that they're able to at least expand in places where there is regulatory certainty. And I think that's going to be really nice for when they come back to the United States to already have this big base. Roger said, okay, explain again. Do they have to use XRP with RLUSD? Yes, they do. So every single time RLUSD is moved over the XRP Ledger network, there is going to be XRP burned in that process. So XRP is being used there. And then very, very likely XRP will be put in a pool against RLUSD in the automated market maker. And then therefore, the more money in RLUSD, the more money that will be in XRP, because they will be paired against each other in that liquidity pool. So think about it this way. Ripple does not want to rely on centralized exchanges to be swapping XRP for all RLUSD. What they would rather do is have a decentralized pool of liquidity where you can instantly go from XRP to RLUSD to say you could go to RLUSD to XRP to some fiat currency. You could really use XRP as the bridge, with RLUSD being that native stablecoin on the XRP Ledger network. And then you essentially have XRP being the liquidity to swap between RLUSD and other assets on the network. Just so people are clear, the main differentiator between XRP and RLUSD is obviously the fact that RLUSD is a pegged coin. It stays at $1. XRP is volatile, but RLUSD is much more of a payments token for saying, hey, I need to move this amount of value here, or I need to pay this person here, while XRP is more of a liquidity token enabling that payment to happen. So XRP, I believe, is more of a back-end kind of strategic reserve liquidity asset, while RLUSD is going to be a more high-level, application-level way to move value from point A to point B. Two completely different tokens. RLUSD is permissioned. It can be clawed back, while XRP is decentralized and neutral. So some big differences in the architecture. And just so people fully understand, I don't think there's any way that RLUSD does any damage to XRP. In fact, I think RLUSD adds a lot of value to XRP. Take a look at the news real quick. It does look like the market is going to be fairly positive today. Thank you, Robin. I appreciate that. Thank you, thank you, thank you. It does look like the market's not going to be bad today. We got a couple stocks relatively green in pre-market. Looks like Bitcoin's hanging out. David Hale, thank you. Thank you for stopping by, brother. I'm looking a bit orange. It's just my color correction filter, so it's just what OBS is filtering. Mikkel, on the new bearable bull video, am I? Am I on it, or are you asking for my comment on it? Let's see. No, not a spray tan, not a spray tan. Just a little. Oh, no, that's not me. I'm scrubbing this video too quick to see if I show up. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, look at that. Oh, that's funny. It was a jungling post. Cool. Cool. Mikkel is everywhere. It's weird. It's surreal. It's fun though. Let's take a look at this real quick. Let's see what Jimmy Old Kramer has to say. He's always some good entertainment.
In India, we're trying to figure out why that economy is not growing faster. I look at the different countries that make up the prestige of Apple, which we've got the new iPhone coming out, and they're talking, look, it's about the Philippines. It's about Indonesia. It's about these and then you Google these countries, because when you went to school, they had much lower populations, but no matter who went to school at what years. And now we're starting to realize, no, look, Apple is not related nearly as much as to China as we thought. China is just a disaster. And I keep saying that. No one wants to believe it. Disaster.
The spread between certainly our economy and theirs has gotten so wide.
They're still like giving money to China to try to own China. And they're like, come on, try to own your own country.
Jim mentions a big week for policy, economic policy this week, as the former president pledged to cut taxes for businesses if he wins a second term. Yesterday at the Economic Club of New York, the Republican nominee outlined plans to cut the corporate rate to 15 from 21, adding that it would be, quote, solely for companies that make their product in America. Also announced that Elon Musk would have a role in his administration. Take a listen.
At the suggestion of Elon Musk, who has given me his complete and total endorsement. That's nice. Smart guy. He knows what he's doing. He knows what he's doing. It's very, very much appreciated. I will create a government efficiency commission tasked with conducting a complete financial and performance audit of the entire federal government and making recommendations for drastic reforms. We need to do it. Can't go on the way we are now. And Elon, because he's not very busy, has agreed to head that task force. Be interesting. If he has the time, that'd be a good one to do it. But he's agreed to do it.
Talked about the creation of a sovereign wealth fund, got hammered on this convoluted answer regarding childcare solutions.
Right. That was, some people say, what a socialist answer. I don't know. I mean, what I do know is that Elon Musk stands for more than just cars. People should recognize that Elon Musk stands for robots. Thank you to Adam Jonas for putting that in front of us. And Elon Musk stands for AI build out. Now, it's funny, if we go back to the Michael Sembles piece this week that I've referenced, he actually is like very positive about NVIDIA, very positive about the use of AI. It's just saying maybe
Japan has to elevate its
inflation. Now, because he recognizes, you mentioned this yesterday, that he has no choice. Obviously, he'd like to make them. But he is really the CEO of much more. He's CEO of Starlink. Think about what he's creating. And I did the funniest thing about what former President Trump said is like, he's not too busy. He's basically pretty busy. But wow, he's the panoply of the economy. And I think space matters a lot. And I do think the data center, and I do think that AI, and I do think that robots.
Well, the pushback on Musk, I don't need to tell you, will come from the amplification of misinformation, AI-generated images of Harris without a label, amplifying conversations that imply Churchill was the true villain of World War II. Yeah, that's what makes the picture muddy.
Yeah, that villain. I mean, we always try to figure out that status. Since he was beholden, he was a mendicant when it came to Roosevelt in 1940-41. I mean, yeah, he did that. Got the U.S. to understand which side. Like, obviously, the U.S.
All right.
Well, they were American firsters, so to speak.
Okay, this
and
is my.
That term has been heard from again. American firsters, then China.
Okay, enough of that. This is what I wanted to cover real quick. This is a current map of where Ripple has payments enabled. This is XRP payments. So this is pretty interesting. I don't think I've seen this before. So always love to get something new here. I'm trying to make it bigger for myself because I know you guys can probably see it all right, but I cannot. So, okay. So Asia Pacific and Europe are going to be the two big ones. And as you can see, this is why it's such a big deal that we get the United States figured out, because as you can see, if we could get the United States blue here, that would be extremely good coverage for Ripple's products. And we're really missing kind of over here. Also, it's interesting to see Russia not enabled. That's going to be interesting for some people. Okay. And then this is the payment flow. So we don't need to focus on that. But I think it's interesting just to see the coverage right now and how early we really are to this. Eventually you will likely see this entire thing covered. I do find it interesting. I know Ripple said at one point they had their product on every single continent. It looks like there's nothing on North America anymore. So I'm curious on that. Did maybe Mexico pulled back, or maybe they were counting the United States before? I'm not sure. I would imagine that would get fixed up in pretty short order. Yeah, you guys want to see a really bad video of take a look at this. Take a look at this video of Kamala. This one's bad. As you guys probably know, I'm normally pretty neutral, or try to be pretty neutral on politics here. The main reason for that is just because, as much as I like to cover the crypto side of things, I do understand that people have their own opinions about a lot of this stuff. And, I just think you got to be able to make your own decision. Like, we're all adults here, but this is bad. This is really bad. When I saw this, I was like, oh boy. All right, listen to this.
Put the Department of Justice of the United States back in the business of justice. We will double the enforcement to counter this extremism. We will hold social media platforms accountable for the hate infiltrating their platforms, because they have a responsibility to help fight against this threat to our democracy. And if you profit off of hate, if you act as a megaphone for misinformation or cyber warfare, if you don't police your platforms, we are going to hold you accountable as a community. And we'll put the Department of Justice of the United States back in the business of justice.
Yeah, so that's about as bad as you can get. I mean, with how untrustworthy, misinformation decided by who exactly, Roger? So, like, I mean, that's the thing. Like, it's so patentedly ridiculous to be saying, oh, misinformation, but not being able to define what misinformation is. Like this whole live stream could be considered misinformation if people think like, oh, the government numbers are rigged, right? Like, we just talked about how the government numbers for business are essentially just made up to a certain degree. How is that not misinformation? So, like, what's the definition? It makes no sense. And then that's quasi just used in the same way the SEC uses their regulation, right? It's the same exact thing the SEC does in their regulation. What they do is they go out and they say, okay, well, what you're doing seems to be illegal. And you're like, what's illegal about it? And it's like, okay, well, we can't actually tell you. We just know what you're doing isn't allowed. And it's like, can you point to a specific thing? It's like, no, it's broad. And you sit there with no answers. And what they do is they just persecute you. And that's the punishment. Hey, now you're getting sued. Now you have to deal with it. Now you have to pay, even though we don't actually know if what you're doing is illegal. And there's no actual there's no actual legislation that proves it. We're just going to quasi make it illegal by punishing you. So that's what it is. And yep. And then that's what Chris Larson just endorsed. So thank you, Chris Larson, for subjecting us to more of that. I don't really have the Chris Larson thing is obviously disappointing, but like I said, man, I would hope he's got some thoughts on this. that I'm not thinking about, because overall it's hard for me to see see the good case. But hopefully, I don't think it really matters. I don't think Chris Larson's going to be the one swaying this one way or the other. To me, it seems like there's enough momentum on the Republican side, so long as they don't continue to underestimate the other side, I think they should be in a good position. I think last time they really underestimated the other side. I don't think people actually came out in support, and I think it really put it in a position where it's like, how could Trump lose? And then Trump lost because everyone thought it was like a given. So hopefully that lesson was learned and they don't make that mistake again, because that would be tragic. Do you think markets will pump because the job numbers were down, which means a definite rate cut? I think the markets are going to want to see it. So I think we're just waiting for the markets to actually get to see it. But I think overall, that's the right way of thinking. I think the market wants to know, like, hey, this is actually here. And I think that's when things will start looking up. The important thing to note is, and we talked about this earlier, like, here's the other side of that. Here's the other side of that you need to understand. It's like, this is what's happening right now on the this is what's happening right now on the unemployment side. So look, there's a reason rate cuts are happening, and it's because unemployment looks like it's about to go parabolic. So, we can cut rates, but if unemployment does something crazy, which it's kind of hard to forecast what unemployment could do, but it really could do something pretty parabolic here. If unemployment really got scary steep here, and TradingView does not want me to draw for some reason, if unemployment really did get really steep, that could be a significant issue. So if we can fend off unemployment and really not go into this big time recession, that could be a scenario that is looking very good for markets. But we have to avoid that recession. Like, as you can tell, these unemployment numbers are not looking that great in terms of where things are trending. Like, they are trending up. Now, as you can see, there's been many times before in the past where unemployment has kind of made a move upward, but it really wasn't anything that bad, right? Like, you make this move upward, but it comes down pretty quickly. You kind of just reject off of it. If we can do something like that, like come up here and then go down, look, that's not bad. That's not bad. And I think that's probably what's going to happen. But if we do something where we start doing something, like, I don't understand why that happens. If we do something like that, that's going to be problematic. Like, that's going to be like, hey, we've got to reevaluate this thing. So I think we're ahead of it right now. I don't think it should be an issue. When you have to move money, yeah. When you have more money than you would ever need, you can afford to. Yeah, no. I mean, that's unfortunate. That's the unfortunate truth of it. But, I think overall, while it's not my preference at all, I don't think it's the end of the world here. So I don't think it will matter. Let's put it that way. I don't think it will matter. I do think it's funny how, like, I love the XRP community right now. Like, they are just not having it. Like, out of everything that's happened over the last year, like, this is it. They're like, this is absurd. I would say it falls a bit into that, hey, if you already made all your money and, like, it doesn't matter to you on that front, then that's a good point. I kind of agree with you. Ripple is a San Francisco owned company. It's not surprising Silicon Valley historically isn't conservative. Yeah, and, like, look, if it is kind of a hedged bet, it is a hedged bet. So obviously Ripple doesn't want to be all in on Trump and then find out that, like, Kamala wins and then be like, oh, well, by the way, now we're looking to be more pro Kamala. So that's definitely going to be part of it. Market's about to open here. We have about 5 minutes. Let's jump over to CNBC for a minute and get this market open. and then we can take a look at what happens from there. So I should be able to just do this. Let's see. Boom.
Good
boom.
luck,
Yep.
though. This is a volume story, not a price story. They want people in the stores and buying, and they deliver.
And do you have a preference between this and Walmart?
Whoa, yes, Costco.
Really?
Yeah, only because I find that Costco's prices are so unbeatable, and it's a little more fun, even though everybody knows I love my Walmarts.
You've made that point before. We'll take a break here, get the opening bell in about 5 minutes. Don't forget, you can catch us anytime, anywhere. Just listen to and follow the Squawk on the Street Opening Bell podcast.
Whoops. Got hit by a commercial. I was getting some coffee. Yeah, no, my bad. We had a commercial pop up. Boom. All right, we back. Had to go get some coffee. And now we got double Mickle. Look at that. Double Mickle on the screen. We don't need double Mickle. We need. All right, there we go. Still getting used to the new live stream. It's for anyone tuning in now, it's been a lot better than it was before. Looks like market's about to open now. I figured it would just keep going. Thought the SEC took you away, Matt. One day on live stream, that will be like two guys just grabbing my shoulder, dragging me out. Hopefully not. No, fingers crossed that's not what happened. No, the good thing for me at least is like the SEC is a civil agency. They're not criminal, so I'll get slapped. I'd get slapped for the fine and move on. And that's the thing. Like that's the thing that's annoying for me. It's like to a certain degree, it's like, oh well, I just sit here and run the risk of one day someone randomly deciding. It's like Ripple, right? It's like one day someone randomly deciding that everything I've been doing, just talking about markets, is like completely not allowed and has never been since day one. It's that famous David Schwartz quote. It's like, you've been doing what you've been doing completely openly and completely transparently and more than willing to adapt to any rules. But then out of nowhere, you find out that everything you've been doing this entire time has never been allowed and fundamentally not allowed by the law. Like, to be clear, I don't think that can remotely happen. Like, I don't think that's even in the cards, but it is funny. Like, that's the risk you take. It's like, that's how they treat it. And like, it would be nice if the United States treated an entrepreneur or treated a company with, as in they are trying to do the best thing possible and are understanding that some things just aren't clear. Like, it's the opposite. It's like, we don't care whether or not things are impossible to understand or not. We're going to punish you because we feel like punishing you. I understand doing that for people who are acting malicious and purposely doing things bad, but there's a lot of people who just want to build new things. Oh, Murdoch, I'm glad you like the new mic. Yo, shout out to God, man, I'm so bad with names. So bad with names. It's gonna come up to me in 2 seconds here. Brad Mills. Shout out to Brad Mills for the mic. Yeah, he killed it. Yeah, this new mic is sick. Everything's coming together nice. The next thing is gonna have to be, unfortunately, be a camera, but I'm sure the camera looks pretty good on your front. Camera will have to be upgraded at some point, but the backdrop looks cool. Mic hits. Yep. No, Brad kills it. Huge shout out to him. He hooked me up big time with this thing. This thing kicks. Yeah, no, this thing kicks. It sounds good too. Sounds really good. And it's nice too because it's very filterable. So like, hold on, let's jump over to this real quick. Mark it open.
Football franchise.
When I look at the value of franchises, chronically undervalued. Who doesn't want to own that franchise? Look, I like Dallas. I went to see Jerry's World. I like New York.
John Mara, CEO, doing the honors. I think Tyree's here, perhaps.
Tyree, get the helmet out. Yep. No Eagles are here because they're in Brazil, busy gaming it. Last night, we remember why football is the most exciting thing on earth. A toe can make the difference.
And at the NASDAQ, by the way, Arcutis Biotherapeutics, focused on immunodermatology. Did you see the Eagles hype video that Adam Schefter
I got
pushed
it.
out?
I tweeted it. Yo. Look, the Eagles have become much more of a, look, I'm never going to say that American team, so much American team, but remember, we have the Eagles jerseys. That's a great way to look at how things are going. They're huge.
Roger, you got your Giants up there. There you go. Taking a look at the market. And guys, what I'm trying to do right now is make it so that when I pull up my screener on my phone, I can scroll through this live on the stream. There's no real good stock screener in which we can really just go through and take a look at market open in that way. Does look like the market's opening fairly positive. We got some green, some red, kind of a mix. Overall, I think the market's really just waiting for those Fed rate cuts. It doesn't seem like much has changed much on that front. All right, guys, I think that's pretty much it. Guys, thank you so much for coming. This has been another incredible live stream. Really enjoying kind of this morning setup and the way we've been running this. It's nice to be able to get on here and cover some of that economic data early in the morning and really start to get a look at what this is going to do to the rest of the day. So, guys, I hope everyone has a great weekend. If anything exciting happens, we will do an emergency live stream. But really appreciate you guys all. I know things haven't been extremely exciting over the past couple of weeks. I always say this, but to me, that's just all the things that are about to happen, like compressing, and then just boom. Then it's like, this is happening. 3 live streams a day. And we've been there before. We're in a little bit of a drought right now, but just wait. With the Fed rate cuts around the corner, with the election kicking up, with cryptocurrency policy coming up, I think there's a lot of things to be exciting about around the corner. So, guys, thank you so much for coming. You guys are all incredible. And for now, Pickle out.